What's going on, Jeromes? How are we living? It's a beautiful Thursday, and as 53-man roosters and practice squads are generally being set, taking a look at where some former Minnesota Vikings luminaries are hanging their hat for the 2023 season, and this is always fun. Now, there's still a little bit of flux. Some teams haven't officially announced practice squads yet, and there's always going to be movement here or there, but in general, a lot of former Vikings finding new places, and I wish them luck except for when they play the Vikings. That's all. Up at the top, so this is in alphabetical order by team. In Arizona, Chris Boyd, that's right, special team superstar, the pride of Texas, hook 'em baby, is inked up with the Cardinals. He was here for joint practices. It's kind of funny. Him getting back in, the Vikings Cam Riddle thing was really funny. But now he gets a big-time opportunity because Arizona is very poopy. So he'll probably be able to play cornerback on top of really good special teams. Do you know Pat Elflein was on the Cardinals, but he's on season-ending injured reserve? So unfortunate. In Hotlanta, so Taylor Heineke, former Old Dominion Monarch, as well as the door kicker here with the Minnesota Vikings. He's starter last year in Washington, but of course it's the Sling and Sam Howell season, so he went to Atlanta to be the backup to Desmond Ridder. Maybe he'll get in midseason. Who really knows? But I always like Taylor Heineke. Like, he's 6 foot nothing, he's a $180 nothing, and he just Johnny try hard. Always gets after it, man. Cordero Patterson. So the rumor of Cordero Patterson's demise, with the Falcons having Tyler Algier as well as drafting Bijan Robinson, has been exaggerated. So he still remains in Hotlanta. Love to see Cordero thriving. Another first-round wide receiver didn't quite work out, Laquan Treadwell, who's bounced around the league a little bit, but ended up back on the Ravens practice squad and was in camp with them. So he'll get a chance to thrive in the new Todd Monken offense behind, Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman and OBJ. All that stuff. Carolina. Heads Carolina, tails California. So Adam Thielen, of course, signed with the Panthers to win a Super Bowl. Yeah. So Amir Smith-Marset, who ended up on the Chiefs last year, the former Vikings 5th-round pick out of Iowa, he won a Super Bowl ring with KC, because why not? But he was traded at the end of preseason, where he actually had a really good preseason, and KC needs receivers, but they still traded him to Carolina. So it's a thing. You remember Brandon Zylstra? He went to Carolina first, and then Thielen, then ISM. You'll watch Blake Prohl sign with the Panthers practice squad now. There you go. Unique the freaking Ngakoue, the 5-game wonder. Or was it 6 games? Doesn't matter. But no, 6 games, and he had 5 sacks. Something like that. But during 2020, after Danielle Hunter had the herniated disc in his neck, Spielman traded with the Jaguars to bring Yannick here. Yannick racked up sacks. Then the Vikings were very poopy in 2020, and then they traded him to the Ravens, and Yannick's bounced around the league, Indianapolis, Vegas, etc. Now he inks up with the Bears, who need a lot of help on the edge, so we'll see what happens there. Well, one thing you can do, like, he'll rush the passer, but we can just run at him. Tight end Irv Smith Jr., former second-round pick out of Alabama, Roll Tide. Never really got going here with the Vikings. Was stuck behind Kyle Rudolph, and then Gronklin got going when Irv was out with multiple injuries. And then Irv got hurt last year right at the trade deadline and facilitated the trade to Detroit for T.J. Hawkinson. So Irv was the odd man out here. Then he signed up with the Bengals and trying to be a target for Jumpin' Joe Burrow. Cleveland snagged 2 Vikings key defenders from last year. So Zadarius Smith, who was traded, Kwesi and his former mentor and protege, Andrew Berry in Cleveland, where Kwesi worked for 2 years. Basically a late round pick swap. Zadarius didn't want to be here. Vikings offloaded his salary. It's good to go. Diesel Dalvin Thompson. So the Vikings would have brought him back, except Cleveland paid him $14 million. All that stuff. Cat cameo. Quarterback Trey Lance. Oh, no, it just seems like he was a Viking because of all the talk. But the pride of Marshall, Minnesota, NDSU Bison ended up in Dallas in a trade. Teddy Bridgewater. That's right. Yesterday was the 7-year anniversary of Teddy's knee and his leg socially distancing from his body. It was just, he could have been something. He could have been a contender in year 3. I will die on the hill that Teddy Bridgewater was ready to make a huge jump in year 3, but I guess we'll never know. But he's actually Jared Goff's number 1 backup now in Detroit. And it's unfortunate. He's wearing number 17, and initially he came in wearing number 50. This used to be a proper country where quarterbacks could wear whatever the hell number they want. He looked good. Good man. Also, Riley Patterson, if you remember him, UDFA out of, was it Memphis? I want to say. Yeah, whatever. But never really got out of the shadow of Dan Bailey, and now he's Detroit's starting kicker, and he's actually pretty damn good. Ben Sims. So the Vikings waived Ben Sims, trying to get him out of the practice squad. Vikings did keep 4 tight ends, but the Packers were like, yoink. And Sims, the pride of Baylor, solid blocking tight end, as well as had some nice grabs in preseason. Now they're going to try and get him to squeal. So hopefully he's not a snitch. Cameron Tiny Dantzler. So I've seen reports that he's going to be added to the Texans practice squad. Nothing is official yet, but Dantzler has sort of bounced around. So Dantzler was waived in the offseason. Washington picked him up, and then the Bills. Or maybe the other way around, whatever. And then he ended up with the Texans. So he was basically on 4 teams in 6 months when there was no games. It's kind of hard to do. But maybe the pride of Mississippi State, Vikings former 3rd-round pick, gets his ish together in Houston. Jerick McKinnon, still out there, man. Like Jerick McKinnon, the pride of Georgia Southern, like he is an absolute physical freak. Won a ring with the Chiefs last year. Sort of a do-it-all running back. Jack of all trades, can run the ball, can catch. He's fantastic. I love Jerick McKinnon. I'm glad that he found himself a spot in KC. Eric Hendricks, our guy, heart and soul of the defense for a number of seasons, but going back home to LA, it's fantastic. He can play a couple years in his hometown and then just go from there. Plus, the Chargers probably are going to be good this year. 3 in Vegas. Amir Abdullah, former Detroit Lions 2nd-round pick out of Nebraska, was a 3rd-down back for the Vikings for a handful of years, and he's still doing the damn thing in Vegas. Love to see it. Marcus Epps, who was a 6th-round pick out of Wyoming before Josh Allen made it cool, and so he was poached off the practice squad by the Eagles, if I remember right, and then he actually became a starter with Philly, and then he signed with the Raiders in free agency. So there you go. Daniel Carlson, we don't need to talk about him. Never trust a Carlson. With the Saints down in Nowlands, 2 in the practice squad. So Stormin Norton. So you remember him. He was sort of 3rd-string practice squad left tackle, developing and never really got going, but played some spring ball and ended up with the Saints. Had himself a decent training camp and preseason. Ended up on the Saints practice squad. Ryan Connolly, the pride of Eden Prairie, although, yes, stupid Badger. Was with the Vikings for a couple seasons as a backup linebacker, special teamer. He's now on the Saints practice squad. Dalvin and the Jets. Yeah, Dalvin signed with the Jets. 3 in Pittsburgh. Armand for Watts. I will always love Armand for Watts. I understand that he was expendable because of scheme change here in Minnesota and didn't really get going in Chicago, but found himself a spot in Pittsburgh. Steelers are going to be good, by the way. And then Steelers took 2 of the Vikings' top 4 corners from last year. Patrick Peterson, the veteran, the future Hall of Famer, is in the Steel City, as well as Sean Sullivan, who was a one-and-done former Greasy Grimy Green Bay Packer, now finds himself in the Three Rivers City. Yeah, Permanente Brothers. There you go. Then Seattle, up in the Northwest, Brian Koback, former Vikings practice squad running back, pride of Toledo, one of the MAC schools. But he actually had himself like a decent game in the first preseason game against the Vikings. There you go. Then T.Y. McGill is on the practice squad for the Niners. Remember, T.Y. McGill was last year's preseason superstar, ended up in San Francisco last year. And Duke Shelley was on the Raiders, and TBD. Who knows if he's going to be added to a practice squad, but he's currently a free agent. Also, there's like 17 bajillion former Vikings with the Cardinals, so they haven't officially set their practice squad, so a few more could end up there. But that's it. That's taking a look at where former notable Vikings are going to be playing this year, either 53 or practice squad. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skull Production Value.